Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again, and welcome to The Roads with Bo. Today is December 17th, 2023, and this is episode 18 of The Roads Not Taken, which is a weekly series where we go through the previous week's events and look at unreported, underreported news, things that I just find interesting, or things that will probably serve as context to events later. At the end, we go through some questions from y'all. Okay, starting off in foreign policy, the German defense minister has basically said that Europe needs to adjust its security posture. It needs to rearm and get on a more defensive footing to counter Russia. Zelensky left the U.S. without more aid. Did not get an aid package, but there is progress being made in the Senate on it. The House, they went on vacation or something because, they're a super responsible entity right now. The U.S. is pressuring Israel to move away from major combat operations. What does that mean? It means a mission accomplished manner. That's what it means. If you are familiar with that, the whole, that's what it means. It's not actually an end. Major shipping companies are suspending transit through the Red Sea out of fear of attacks. As the conflict starts to impact international trade, expect more and more nations to become more and more vested in taking action of some sort. It's foreign policy. It's all about power. That includes power coupons. Okay, moving on to the U.S. Boston held a large event celebrating looting, theft, vandalism, and lawlessness with a reenactment of the Boston Tea Party. The governor of Hawaii has threatened to stop all short-term rentals on Maui if housing needs are not met by January. There are still roughly 6,000, was last count, 6,000 residents living in hotels after that devastating fire. Mark Meadows is still fighting to have his Georgia case removed to federal court. The judges in the appeals court seemed skeptical of arguments in his favor. If you are into weird legal quirks, there is a recent case with a man who claims to be the heir of a kingdom in Morocco that plays into this, and it's worth looking into. It has to do with who qualifies for federal removal, who qualifies as a federal officer, stuff like that. And it may impact Meadows' case. Sununu either is endorsing or has already officially endorsed Nikki Haley. More big donors have signed on. At this point, if Trump falls, she's your presumptive follow-up. Republican strategist Susan Del Persico feels that recent events will lead to Republicans losing the House. Doesn't seem like she sees that going any other way. Seems like that's kind of done in her opinion. There are more rumbles about a third-party run by Liz Cheney. The goal of this run would not be to win. The goal of this run would be to make sure that Trump doesn't. Voyager 1 is having issues communicating with Earth and sending information back. There's been a little commentary about how NASA just isn't up to it and we need to privatize and all that stuff. I feel like it's an important moment to point out that thing's been up there almost half a century. It's like 46, 47 years old. I mean, the technology is a bit dated. The man who wielded that folding chair in Montgomery, in that thing by the river, He was reportedly ordered to perform 50 hours of community service. I definitely feel some way about that, I'm going to be honest. Okay, moving on to cultural news. Alex Jones is back on Twitter. I'm sure that's going to help draw advertisers back to the platform. In related news, he's offered a $55 million settlement to the families impacted by those theories. And yes, that is to satisfy a judgment that was like $1.5 billion or something. In related financial news, Trump is selling off pieces of his mugshot suit. From what I understand, you only need about $5,000. What a deal for a piece of history like that. For comparison, you can get a piece of Alcatraz or like the blast shield from the Manhattan Project or a piece of the first supercomputer for like $50. Moving on to environmental news, the Republican governor in Wyoming, Mark Gordon, he is telling people climate change is real and it's coming, and we need to get ready for it. That's a welcome development. Sadly, he is getting pushback. So there's that. Looks like federal courts blocked an attempt to stop reintroduction of wolves into Colorado, specifically gray wolves. According to judges, Texas power plants have no responsibility to provide electricity during an emergency. This, of course, becomes important when you factor in that nearly 250 people were lost in that storm in 2021. Moving on to oddities, massive solar flares have been a staple of apocalyptic stories for quite some time. Well, a huge one is heading to Earth and will arrive a few days ago. It hit. It knocked out radio communications for a couple hours in the U.S. NOAA said it was, quote, likely one of the largest solar radio events ever recorded. Hollywood may need to readjust some things on the way that's portrayed. Okay, moving on to the Q&A section. Note, say the email address. Say the email address. Fair enough. It is question for Beau. That's question for FOR, Beau, BEAU, at Gmail. Okay. Bostradamus is a joke, but it's also not. I've watched you predict the fall of Afghanistan and exactly how it would happen a year before it did. Your video prior to Russia invading Ukraine was amazingly accurate. You predicted how Soledar was like Bunker Hill for Wagner, and now your October 9 video on Palestine is also fortune-telling in action. Can you please apply this skill to the election and tell me how much I have to worry about? I'm not riding with Biden, but I'm terrified and know my life will get worse if a Republican wins. Can you please apply this skill to the election? No, I can't. Look at your list. Afghanistan, Ukraine, Soledar, Palestine. The fortune-telling aspects, it's not a fortune-telling skill. It's a lot of study of one particular topic. It's unconventional conflict. It's political violence. The fall of Afghanistan, even the invasion of Ukraine, when you look at the initial invasion, which is what that video was about, the defense that Ukraine was likely to put up and did put up was a defend deep strategy. It was an unconventional strategy. We talk about a lot of things on this channel. This is my area of study. So those I am better at assessing what will happen because it's something I studied for decades. So I wish I could, but it doesn't work that way. It's about having a bunch of knowledge to build off of. How can I get over my sadness that my questions haven't been picked? That's messed up that they put that in there. I hope one of these other ones is from you. Wow. Okay, so when they go through and pick these, they tend to pick ones that can be used to make a point or are ones that they think will add some levity, which is probably why they chose this, or they know it's something that I can speak freely and off the cuff about. If your questions are like detailed policy questions, they're probably not going to put them in here. The other thing is if a whole bunch of people ask similar questions. Okay. Oh, that's a long one. Okay. While speaking with my millennial daughter today, I was called the boomer label, and more specifically was told that because I was very concerned about a Trump election win becoming an authoritarian nightmare, and that was boomer think. I'm barely even considered a boomer by birth year, so of course I was a little bit offended, but that's not my question. My parents are Republicans, but will not vote for Trump. So they now say they just won't vote or will look at a third party. Now my daughter says I need to not even consider Biden and to look into a young woman I've never heard of before that is running third party. Should I just wait a while and see what plays out for Democrats and third parties? Try to convince my daughter and parents to vote Biden over third party, as third party could help Trump, although daughter blasted me when I tried to bring this up today with that's all she's heard for 20 years. Just keep my mouth shut and let everyone cancel each other's vote out, as I bet we've been doing for years. Okay. Well, so a vote for a third party is not necessarily a vote for Trump. It's a vote for a third party. If they're not going to vote, and those are their options, either not vote or vote third party, I mean, it's a wash on that. Younger people have a lot of, let's just call it reluctance when it comes to Biden right now. That may change as people are reminded of who Trump is, but Biden's handling of a lot of current situations does not sit well with younger people. Some of it is bumper sticker stuff and a lack of understanding it. Some of it is a moral position that realistically, if it's the bumper sticker stuff, yeah, I mean, maybe there's some education there that could be done, but if they're doing it for a moral reason, they've suffered a moral injury, you're not going to change that. I wouldn't, if it was my daughter, I would not risk jeopardizing the relationship over that, because if it is from a moral position, you are incredibly unlikely to be able to shift that at all. As far as all the people saying that they're voting third party, this was something, and the person took it the wrong way, but a friend of mine was like, I'm going to vote for Cornel West. And I was like, spell his name. And he kind of looked at me like I was saying he couldn't spell. And in point of fact, he did misspell his name. The point I was trying to make by that wasn't a spelling thing. It's that a lot of them are not going to be on the ballot. That's a whole issue with ballot access, and that realistically, no matter how you feel about third parties, that's a problem. So I think there are a lot of people right now that are saying, I'm going to vote for third party, that realistically, when they get in that booth, they won't. But at the same time, I think there's probably going to be more third party votes than normal. Because there are a lot of disaffected people from both parties. There are people who will not vote for Trump that are Republicans. But they're also not going to vote for Biden. And there are certainly people who are not going to vote for Biden who are typically Democratic voters. So, yeah, I would pay close attention to what her motivation is to say she's not voting for Biden. If it's a misunderstanding of a policy thing, that's one thing. If it is, he did this and I can't stand for it, that's something else. I realize you don't speak for the Democratic Party. Good. Oh. and that you're not a Democrat. Thanks. But you have a keen sense in your voice of reason and calm in a world of chaos. You've done several videos recently about the Civil War in the Republican Party. My question is, why isn't the Democratic Party adding fuel to this fire and doing more to encourage red-on-red fire? In my way of thinking, if the moderate GOP wins, the Democratic Party can negotiate with the GOP, which will be in a weaker state. If the MAGA faction wins, a lot of people will be turned off, leaving them to destroy themselves, allowing another party to take their place. Am I wishful thinking here? I mean, I don't think those are definitely options. I don't know that they're the only options, but they're definitely options. As far as why isn't the Democratic Party adding fuel to the fire, because that's the Democratic Party. One of my biggest critiques of the Democratic Party is its messaging and its unwillingness to play hardball at times. There are a number of races where some certain words or drawing attention to certain things in certain races would leave Republicans duking it out amongst themselves. The Democratic Party tries to play fairer than the Republican Party. I don't know. Last time they did a little bit of encouraging red on red when they funded like really bad candidates during the primaries. They funded Republican, not the Democratic Party like officially, but some Democratic donors funded some really bad Republican candidates during the primary. And it led to them winning and being unelectable. Okay. Why hasn't the missing binder of classified information been on the radar nonstop? How does a super secret classified binder go from needing to be viewed in a special room, in a special building, to being handled? Okay, so here's the thing. This is being reported as if it just happened. People have been aware of this for a while. It's just not being reported on a whole bunch. So don't think that this wasn't on the radar before. It was. Do you plan to address the ongoing misconduct issues within the Coast Guard? Yes. I want a little bit more information, but yes. Okay. What should I get to fill a med kit trauma kit? That depends on your level of training. What I would do if you're just starting out, get an IFAK, IFAK, and make sure you know how to use everything in it. Get a stocked one and start there. I'm in a very red state and hear this opinion all the time. The reason there are so many job openings is because so much of society is lazy and living off the government. What is a good response that is relatively short considering how complex it really is? First, point out that, it is more of a problem in red states. And then the next thing I would point out is that it probably has a lot to do with the unemployment rate being really low right now. Okay, so that looks like all of the questions. All right, so there's a little bit more information, a little bit more context, and having the right information will make all the difference. Y'all have a good day.